Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting, November 3, 2014. If we can rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and good evening. Gentlemen, we have a tax classification, so we have our assessors here. If you gentlemen want to come up. Welcome.
We don't have any vacation photos to share with you.
Mr. Mooney's.
Mr. Chairman,
Sadly.
just for the record, this is a 6:30 PM public hearing on the tax classification hearing?
Correct.
This is a public hearing, right?
This is a public hearing.
Okay.
Correct. And as you are aware from previous years, there are four issues that need to be addressed this evening. One is the open space discount, two is a residential exemption, three is a small commercial exemption, and four would be the actual tax classification. I believe you've all been given a packet of information with the appropriate data.
Yep.
And as we've done the last couple of years, we'll just go through these one by one, and we'll make our recommendations, and then you can ask questions.
Okay.
Any
Floor is yours.
You guys don't have an SIE pack or anything telling us how to vote on all these questions? Anybody sick of those? All those?
We were gonna put
Sick
together
of the
a booklet,
commercials?
but
Yeah.
All done tomorrow.
Yeah, really. Thankfully.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, don't forget to vote tomorrow, by the way.
So the first is the open space discount, as has been the case in the past. We do not have any property that's classified as open space in Georgetown, so that becomes almost a moot vote on your part, a formality, if you will.
Okay.
The second is the residential exemption, which, once again, we don't really qualify because the typical criteria would be a 20% owner-occupied property. And it's typically designed for communities that have a lot of resort type of property, second homes and so on. Our recommendation there is that you do not adopt a residential exemption. And then the third is a small commercial exemption. You may adopt up to 10% shift in the commercial class tax burden. And the threshold is $1 million value in property. And given that we only have 18 properties that are over $1 million here, they would bear the brunt of any shift in value that we would make from the small commercial. And so we would recommend that you not adopt that either. And then finally is the classification itself. As has been the case in past years, we really don't qualify for a split rate in town here because the quantity of residential and commercial industrial property is not adequate to really support that. Again, that's typically adopted in communities that have a lot more commercial property than we do. So we would recommend that you not adopt a split rate. And that's it. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to go through them.
So on 4, you recommend a no? Or a yes?
Yes
No,
vote.
that's a yes vote, okay. I'm being dyslexic here,
Want to
sorry.
do these one at a time?
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, I move to set an open space assessment.
All those in favor? All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Mr. Chairman, I move to establish a residential exemption.
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the small commercial exemption.
Second.
Discussion?
Discussion.
Just on this, this wouldn't change what's coming in at all, right? This is just some type of a relief thing for,
This shifts the
Small
tax burden
business.
from small commercial properties under $1 million in value to commercial properties that are over $1 million in value. And so it would shift the value from 110 small commercial properties to 18 large commercial properties. And in our case, that would put an undue in our opinion,
Yeah.
would put an undue burden on those 18 large commercial properties.
And it wouldn't change what's coming in at all.
doesn't, no.
It's
It's just a
something that
shift.
come up to help with
Correct.
small business get along.
Well,
Now-
it's designed for communities, again, that have much larger quantities of commercial properties, where they have large strip malls. You know, you might have a community that has Route 1 running through it with a lot of commercial property. And it's designed to put more of the burden on those
businesses.
businesses.
Okay.
And those businesses would
And
put
really,
more
really,
burden on the town
communities with
also.
large industrial parks with a larger
Right,
amount of
that would be the
employees.
other case, right.
And they probably, in a way, put a burden back on a city or a town. So maybe that's a way of getting a little,
Yeah.
and helping the small business. But it doesn't have to be 10%, right? It could be anything from 1 to 10?
I believe it's 10%.
No, it's
That's- okay,
10%.
it
If
has
you
to
adopt
be
it, it's
10%.
10%.
Okay, because it says of up to 10%, so that's why I was just,
Yeah.
not that I would be thinking of going there. I mean, we'll certainly follow your instructions, but I just wanted to ask that question, because it is written.
It's a good
there.
question. I've never seen anybody go lower than 10%.
Okay,
Doesn't make a lot of sense.
thank you.
All right, all those in favor? All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Mr. Chairman, I move to recommend a tax classification factor of 1.
Second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Yay.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, at this point, unless there's any discussion from outside of of the attendees here, from the officials, there's nobody from the public here. I move to close the public tax classification hearing.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
While you're here,
Mhm.
Mr. Chairman, if I might ask a question. How's your reserve account doing? Any money coming back our way?
The overlay account?
Yeah,
It's actually somewhat upside down at this point, so
okay.
we're gonna have to, work with Mike to figure out how we're gonna handle, the next couple of years going forward. But right now, we're in a deficit for the overlay account based
Really?
upon ATV.
So you had some more cases come in that you'd have to
We did, yeah.
accrue for?
Yep, and we have another case coming up, so.
Yeah.
um,
We're looking for every dollar we
I
can
know
for
you
that
are.
staff fund, so. All right, thank you, sir.
Just side note, the quicker you can get the documentation signed and to us, the quicker we can get the recap submitted for tax rate certification, which should be the earliest we've ever been able to do it. Be good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, gents. Have a great night.
Thank you.
I'm gonna move to number 3 on the agenda. Request for a one-day liquor license at Camp Dennison. Ms. Dallin, if you'd love to come up. How are you?
Thanks.
Welcome. Good evening. Just tell us, you have an education fundraiser for the Bagnell School, and this is for Camp Dennison on 11/21, from 1 to 7.
7 to 10.
Oh. I'm sorry, 7 to 10, you're right. 100 people from 7 to 10,
Yeah,
you're right.
yes. So it's a nonprofit organization called Bagnell Education Foundation. We raise money for educational programs at Bagnell that are outside of the school's budget. And so we're going to do, I think the title has changed because the principal wanted the title changed to A Taste of Autumn, but it's going to have raffles, food, and there'll be Riverwalk Brewing Company and Newburyport Brewing Company. Ipswich backed out. And they will provide their own servers.
Yeah, and insurance too, right?
Yeah, so I submitted certificate of liability as well as the TIPS certification
Great.
for both.
And looks like insurance is in order.
She gave me the tip certification.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Riverwalk, Newburyport. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve a one-day liquor license, the location to be Camp Dennison on November 21st, 2014, to the Bagnell, I want to get the actual name of the, Bagnell Education Foundation, times from 7 PM to 10 PM.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 You are in business.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good event.
Thank you very much.
All right, we have Mr. Durkee here from the Highway Department. Good evening. Come on up. How you doing?
How are you?
All right.
We spend any money on snow removal? No.
Yeah,
saw you.
A little bit, right?
Last storm.
A little bit or what?
That last storm, yeah, we went through the whole budget.
Yeah, I saw him at
That was-
Dunkin'.
that
I
was
saw him at
cool.
Dunkin' Donuts. I said, "Oh no, we got a crew out."
Yeah.
He was like, "No."
Well, I saw 95. They were spreading salt and stuff. Yeah. That was a
They
cool
say this
joke.
is it for the year.
Yeah,
I hope so. That'd be beautiful.
that would be
Be
nice.
nice.
That would be nice. So, Pond Street, funds for the fence and all that. Have you been able to figure out what's going on with that?
The selectmen were supposed to send a letter to the state, I think by September 15th. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I was gonna say. No,
Well, that's the first I've heard of it, so
Yeah.
we're kind of
It's
past
like,
deadline
huh?
here, pal.
Me too. What?
We kind of missed
That's
that
not-
ball, my
No,
friend.
after it got passed through the state, I got an email from Lenny Mira, and I sent a letter to the state DOT, because you kind of get the money the same way you get the Chapter 90 money. So they have to approve it first.
Okay.
So that letter's been sent, and I'm waiting to hear from the state on that. So they wanted a cost estimate of what it was gonna cost, and a brief description of what we're gonna do out there.
Okay,
That went to DOT,
Yep,
Mass DOT.
yep.
Okay.
okay. So then we're just waiting for DOT to approve it at this point, and
Yep,
after that,
and,
then they'll release
you know,
it?
one part that, that I read in the letter was, we can't spend any money on that project until we hear from them, because they won't reimburse us for any, like, if we use town funds out there.
Right.
So,
Okay.
Have you sent a copy of the letter to Representative Mira's office, so he has it?
No, but
He's
I can.
aware?
Yeah,
I
that'd be a
think that's
good
a
idea.
smart move, so he's aware.
And probably Senator Tar's off.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you send me a copy of the letter also?
yep.
That'd be
Yeah,
great.
just Email it out to us.
That'd be great.
Shoot it to Janet and she'll get it out.
Okay.
Do you guys have any questions? Anything else burning? How's
I
the
talked to
department going?
Steve Przemski from Conservation about Pond Street. We took a walk, so we don't have to spend as much money on engineering. So that's definitely a possibility.
Okay.
So we're gonna,
In regard specific to the fence removal?
yes, well,
Okay.
we need a notice of intent to put the new guardrail up.
Okay.
So, instead of doing a design plan for the whole area, we're gonna show them, a cut of what the guardrail is gonna look like, how much material you need, from the road to the guardrail, and then the slope.
Behind it.
And I'm gonna mark out the areas, and we'll do, every 100 feet instead of, a design plan to scale, and
Okay.
so.
And he's
we'll still-
comfortable?
Well, yes, and we'll still need a notice of intent for that, though.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
So-
Mr. Chairman, when do you think if we get the money appropriated in the next 2 weeks or so,
It will take a month or two to go through Conscom.
so
And then we could start work if it's,
think it's
if-
realistic to do it in January? I mean,
depends on the weather. If it's snowing out, it won't be a good idea, but if it's not, we could, because all they do, we're just gonna remove the fence and fill the hole in, and then the guardrail company comes in and they hammer the guardrail in.
even with frozen,
It shouldn't be frozen by the end of December, but if not, we'll do it first thing in the spring.
Are we gonna be able to salvage the fence materials in case we need it for somewhere else in town?
Yeah, we
should
could.
be able to, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That'd be a
We'll
good
probably
idea if
just
we can.
sling each post and pull those out with the cement and all,
Yeah,
and you can take a sledgehammer to it
bust it up.
and get the pipe in the fence. We can just disconnect and roll up.
Okay. Yeah, this would be good if we'd save it, because I know somewhere in town will need a fence.
Okay.
Town hall.
So, Peter.
That's a wrought iron fence,
from,
right?
From start to finish, what do you think, a week or so?
It could be a week, yes. It could be a little bit longer. I just have to make sure that I go in there and take the fence out, and I know that the guardrail company's coming the next day.
Okay.
And then I can backfill behind the guardrail with the machines that we have, with the guardrail up.
Oh, good. Really?
Yep.
Oh,
So
even better. So
was
you
it-
doing riprap behind
It'll
that?
be a few different things.
mix?
It will be rip-wrapped in some areas, it will be gravel with loam.
Yeah.
And, they call it a jute mat, which holds the seed in place. It's
Yeah.
like a hay barrier.
Yeah.
So-
Okay. Okay.
Great.
Excellent. Well, that's great. Culverts, you're in pretty good shape in culverts. I know you've placed a bunch. So
We were
that's
supposed to
good
do
news.
3 more part of that MEMA mitigation grant that we received.
Yep.
They're on hold right now. We asked for an extension so we could do them next year. It was just,
Run out of time?
it was busy and, the library area is all done.
Yeah,
We loam and seeded that area there.
looks good.
There's, we replaced, I think 2 weeks ago, we replaced 700 feet of drainage pipe on North Street. The aluminum pipe that we removed would fill probably the back of a 1-ton. There wasn't a lot left of it. It was
Yeah.
junk, so.
Wow. How old was that on estimate, you think?
Probably 30, 40 years old, easy.
Wow.
And it was just nothing left of it. The biggest piece we got was probably this big out of it,
So where was this? Along,
along North Street from.
oh, okay, that's what you guys were doing, right, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Well, that's good.
And we
So-
replaced another crossover pipe on Jewett Street that was, they extended the pipe, and so there was 3 different types of pipe. There was RCP, which is reinforced concrete, there was plastic, ADS, and there was aluminum. And they just shoved the pipes into each end, and it wasn't working well, and
Yeah.
it's working well now.
What'd you
So,
put in with it?
ADS.
Oh, okay. That's that hard plastic,
Yep.
green plastic? Okay,
So,
great. Chapter 90 funds and everything, you're staying on top of and getting submissions in on time? Were we talking about quarterly billing on that for this year?
yeah, that's no problem with that. It's, I have 2 project requests in right now, one for, the design for Elm Street, and the other is for a hot box that we can use any time of year to put a hot top out. The
Oh,
one
really?
that we had it was an antique when we got it. We bought it used for like $1,000, and it's junk now.
Okay.
So we're purchasing a new one through Chapter 90 funds.
Okay, and the new trucks are running great and everything's
Yep.
going well and?
Yep.
Good.
We're starting right now to get things ready for winter. So we have a few more projects. We're gonna pave all day tomorrow. We're working on the monument right outside of Town Hall.
You're gonna get the lights wired up?
Yep,
So
Great.
in this morning. yeah.
probably tomorrow or,
Good.
if not the next day.
So will that be lit?
Yep.
Pretty much every night?
Yep.
Okay, great. I look forward to seeing that. You guys, the crew did a great job on rehabbing that whole
Yeah,
site.
we have to do some more work out there. We gotta find some way to put a sprinkler system out there, cause it's just gonna, turn yellow and just die and.
You do have water.
There is water there,
right?
so we could
Okay.
put a sprinkler system in. If there's funds available with the, CPC funds, we're gonna try to put a sprinkler system in there. And if there's
A
a-
timered system?
Yep.
Okay. All right, good. Where are you paving tomorrow?
Tenny Street, sections of Tenny Street,
Okay.
and it's not, we're not having a company.
Talking
come
those
in, we're
really
doing it-
chunky sections?
Yeah, we're doing it ourselves, just to,
Yeah.
get us through until next year. I hope to pave Tenny Street, Pond Street, so, depending on the funds, but those 2 streets are in tough shape,
Yeah, Tenny
So-
Street's a mess right
Yeah.
now. Okay.
so,
Okay, good, great. And the pavement plans going well?
yep.
I think that thing's brilliant, so.
Yep.
Good. Any questions?
I have one, couple.
Yeah, sure.
What's up with Parish Road? What's happening there?
The culvert is, you're not able to drive on it, so it's closed right now.
Yeah.
The culvert doesn't belong to Georgetown, because I looked into that to try to get a FEMA mitigation grant for that also.
Yeah.
And, the
Yeah, I
engineer
don't
looked
know.
at it, and he said that it doesn't belong to us.
Who's that? Is that Byfield?
It's Newbury, yep.
Oh, it's Newbury.
Yeah.
Yeah, the line's not clearly marked, I don't think, on that road.
No, but
Yeah.
when he looked at it on the map, he knew that it wasn't Georgetown.
So it's-
Okay.
So
the-
we can't get the funds, but I did pass it on to the highway surveyor over there.
Do you know if they're planning to go ahead? Cause I
Um,
noticed a sign that they put up is permanently there, I think.
Yeah,
So I thought, oh, man.
it's gonna be closed for a while,
Yeah.
So they have to apply for the grant and everything?
Well, it depends, they may just try to use their own funds and try to replace it.
Oh, okay.
So I suggested another way. There's a company in Georgetown that they'll put a foundation on either side of the culvert, remove the culvert, the top part, the cement, some of the head walls on either side, and then they just put I-beams across and almost make a bridge over it. You don't even get in the wetlands.
Okay.
So, but I don't know how expensive that is, but I've seen it used before, and that way there you don't have to deal with diverting the water,
Okay.
so.
The water's almost up there now.
Yep.
There must be a beaver dam in there somewhere or something.
It's collapsed, it's not good.
Wow.
Oh, so you're saying the whole
Yep.
road has come
Yep.
down from years ago?
Yep.
Okay.
That's a
Now,
problem.
putting on your other hat, perhaps your safety hat, do you see it as a safety problem in any way? I mean, there's nobody on there that's that far away from,
No, there's one house that is a Byfield address, and Georgetown knows that they have to respond. And there's
Okay.
no houses in Georgetown that are in Byfield, and the ambulance in Byfield knows not to come that way to go to any calls, so.
Okay. Good.
Okay, and the other question I had, I was gonna ask Mike tonight, but I think you may also know while you're both here, and that's what's up with the grants that we got awarded for the middle high school, because I was watching the school committee, and they mentioned there that, yeah, even though they were awarded, something was holding them up for possibly a couple years, and was that gonna have any effect with what's going on there?
Yeah, what happened, we sat down about 2 years ago with Merrimack Valley Planning Commission, and they were working on redoing all of their communities' stormwater prevention plan. Not stormwater prevention, they're all
Stormwater?
Management?
all hazards plan.
Oh, okay.
Because ours had expired. They're good for 5 years, and that's one of the requirements for FEMA to be eligible for the grants.
But I thought we were up to date on them, even though we got it in behind, we got it
Yeah.
in late, but
We thought so too. We went through the process with Merrimack Valley Planning Commission.
Yeah.
They were supposed to submit it. The staff person who was working on it retired,
Oh, no.
and they
Left it on the
just,
desk.
they just replaced him like a month ago. First,
so this is at Merrimack Valley Planning?
yes.
Okay.
And when we got notification that we were now taken off the wait list and eligible for the grant, our engineer said they still don't have our plan. So we called up Merrimack Valley Planning, said, what's up with the plan? Oh, we forgot. And so now they're working on it. I just talked to Howard about it this afternoon, because he's been in here. They have all the data we need, and now they're telling us they won't have the other towns until January. So the earliest they're gonna submit it is January. And I just learned this today. So I have to find out what the ramifications of waiting till January are.
Was that the FEMA grant for the water mitigation on the back of the hill
Yes.
behind the school?
And Pearlie.
Oh, and Pearlie.
There were-
Oh, both.
there were
Okay.
two.
That's right. I forgot about
Pearlie,
Pearlie.
the Pearlie
Right.
grant was slightly, I think it's about 200 and, it was 158,000 for the high school, middle
220.
school, and a little over 200 for Pearlie.
Okay.
You know, and it would be certainly appropriate if we had, you know, we need to get the engineering or the money part of it dovetailed with the school project.
Mhm.
So I have to keep on top of that to
Okay.
make sure that happens.
All right. Well, let us know. All right, any other questions for our highway surveyor? I think no snow here, only in ski country.
Yep.
Okay. My mall managers are thinking the same thing. All right, thanks, Pete.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks.
All right, I'm moving to the addendum here. We've got Jeff Mooney from See Click Fix presentation. It's an app, and love to hear about it and see what's going on. Welcome
Excellent, thank you very much.
for being here.
Glad to be here. I'm impressed that Pete could answer all those questions without a note to look at. He was actually,
He's got them all top.
yeah,
of
he was
that.
ready to go. That was
It's on
great.
his game.
That was impressive. So yeah, I'm very excited to be here. What I'm going to be presenting is about the Commonwealth Connect program. And so Commonwealth Connect is basically, it's a program that currently 60 municipalities across the Commonwealth take advantage of. And it was initially started by a innovation grant from the state. And the story of it is the city of Boston had an app that was just for the city of Boston. So residents could see a pothole, street light, graffiti, take a picture, and it would route to the 311 department in Boston. The challenge they would have, which is because Boston's surrounded by so many different towns, that they would get things sent to them that was not the responsibility of Boston, because the app wasn't really geocentric to control who got where it went. So they came up with a program to say, we'd like to do a geofenced program, which means there'd be one app that could be used across the entire state, but there would be geofences, which are basically boundaries set up around each town, so that we could control what service requests are displayed and where they route to. And there was an RFP for that, which SeeClickFix won. And then we rolled out, which is who I represent. I'm the vice president of partnerships for SeeClickFix.
Cool.
And we rolled out 40 municipalities off the grant, and then 20 additional municipalities signed on separately with us just because there was some discounted pricing to take advantage of. Which brings us to today, which is MAPC, which is the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission, asked for an extension grant. And the state gave them additional funds to essentially sponsor 20 additional towns to come on board.
Okay.
So they're going to pay half of the first year cost, and then the town pays the other half of the cost. So what I was going to do for this presentation is give you just kind of a big picture of what the citizen channels are that are available through the program, and then what the hosted CRM looks like.
Sounds good.
Just a little bit on SeeClickFix. So while we're working with 60 municipalities in Massachusetts, we currently work with about 230 municipalities across the U.S., and they really range in size. We have a lot of really large municipalities like Washington, D.C., and Houston, Texas, and then we have a lot of smaller municipalities at a population of plus or minus 10,000. So it really varies. The core needs that we're trying to address with this is that we want to be able to have all municipalities have a mobile app that citizens and staff can use for submitting a request. And so this is somebody who has an iPhone device or Android device. They can easily take a picture of a request, provide some additional data like where the pothole is located, if it's graffiti, how deep is what information about, is it on public or private property, any information that you need to route into the city.
So if you shot, let's say, a pothole photo or something like that, is that done with GPS?
It's actually
on the request.
The GPS, basically, the phone will uses your GPS to identify where you are at the moment, and then when you take, but the request isn't based off the image, because you can submit a request without including an image if you don't want to, so you're not required to.
Yeah, so it's when you send it, that's where it's tagging it for location.
Exactly. And so we want it to be, the whole purpose of this thing was make it very, very scalable, which means you can have unlimited users for the town on the CRM, so as many different departments and administrators that you want to have access to managing service requests you can. And we also want it to be scalable, so not only can you use the mobile apps for submitting a request as a citizen, but maybe the Public Works Department might want to report things like tree inspections and fire hydrant inspections. And maybe those wouldn't be things the public could use, but the internal team could. So you can scale it to be both public and internal use for requests. And then the last part of it is just to improve general communication, because generally what we found over and over again is towns are really very good at triaging requests as they come through. But the internal systems really aren't designed all that well to share information back out to the person who reported it.
Yeah, the pushback.
So this is really, that was the niche SeeClickFix kind of met initially, was to close that loop.
So can you push announcements too through this?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can do announcements, as soon as a request is closed, it does an email about the transactional request, so like the pothole. But you could also do a push saying there's going to be a parade this weekend and Main Street's going to be closed from 9 to noon.
Great.
So if you want to do it that way.
Excellent.
And so it just gives you, this next one just kind of gives you an idea. I have just some screenshots here from Ann Arbor, Michigan. But the idea would be your branding would be on the mobile application. So it would be all branding for the town of Georgetown. And in addition to being able to, this is the idea on the middle one, allows you to see the idea that you could identify an address, take a picture of a request, pick the topic, and route it into the city. And what happens is you can identify which department or users you want to receive an email alert. So a pothole request could go to Jeff Mooney as an email, but it also gets captured in the tracking system, which I'll show you in a minute.
Okay.
And I'm going to be trying to be sensitive to time for you guys. So I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. If you ever want me to dive down, let me know, but I hate to keep people too late here. And the other thing that it does, which I think is really neat, is the mobile app not only allows you to do service requests, but it allows you to have custom buttons on the phone, which means you can have one for town news, town events, 4th of July celebration, anything that you want. So the idea being that the mobile app becomes a general communication tool for the town that
Great.
also allows service request transactions.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
We have a code red phone,
Yeah.
system, and this would be great.
Yeah, and they really complement each other, because a lot of towns across Massachusetts use Code Red, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah, this is great. I love it. Okay.
And just the nice thing about it too is that under this, all the support for mobile app is by C-Click Fix. So as new operating systems come out, anything related to the app is our responsibility to keep updated and maintain,
Okay.
not the towns.
So we just would feed you basically the email paths and everything for the particular categories
Yep.
of alerts.
Yep.
Okay.
And we do that. The whole program includes our services team setting everything up with your team when we do it.
Okay. Great.
So the other part of this, in addition to mobile app, is the idea that you can put an interactive map widget on your website. So I stuck with Ann Arbor on this, and they're a much bigger city. But there's a lot of virtual towns and schools clients that are also using the program. So Reading, Massachusetts, Chelsea, Saugus, there's probably about 15 of them.
Our website provider is one of those.
Same.
There's virtual towns and
Good.
schools.
Okay.
And the idea being that you can, if you want, you don't have to do this, but you can put this map widget on your site, which essentially displays to the resident, these are the issues in process,
Yeah.
or you could submit a new one.
Okay.
And it does really two things. One, it shows all the work that's being done on their behalf. The other thing is it cuts way down on the same request coming in over and over again, because they can see that you already know
Yeah, you
about
already
it.
have it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was going to shift gears now and just go through, you can take off your citizen hat and just put on the admin hat. And I'll go through these slides. So this is what your team has access to. And the first thing I was going to point out is even though this software is designed to help residents self-service, we know that you still are going to take a lot of phone calls and walk-ins. And the idea is you can have one application that can have all this data in it so it doesn't get siloed. So someone on the phone could take a phone call, get an address from the person who called in about a tree that's down. They could identify the service request category. And what's neat is once they do on the phone say the person's calling about a pothole, it almost acts like a wizard. So it's going to present questions specific to that request type to the person who's taking the phone call. So you're always getting very organized data, regardless if they self-service or they call into the town to report a particular issue. And then you also have the option at the time of taking the call to say, is there any information I want to share publicly? So if it's a graffiti request, they might add, graffiti is located on the backstop in the baseball field. But they might put the account note, which is for internal use only, and you could do that to say, this is the 4th graffiti in the park this week, maybe we should alert the police about doing some additional rounds in that area. So you can have public information and private information when you do it.
Okay.
And then when it gets captured in this internal system. So when a request gets created, whether or not it came from the mobile app or someone called in, these are the tools that your team has access to. And I'll fire through these different areas. The dashboard view is really the manager view. And this just kind of allows you to see, looking at the last 30 days, which is that middle chart, how many requests were open, closed, or acknowledged over the last 30 days. And this is showing Albany, New York. So their activity is a lot higher than it would be here. But there's a lot of data, so the charts are kind of fun to look at. So I'm using them. And then on the right, it's showing you the last 90 days as to where requests came from. Because over time, it allows you to look to see how many are city initiated, which is in that black, which means it's tracking how many times you took a phone call and you created a ticket by yourself, versus self-service, which are all the other ones. So iPhone, Android, your website. So these are all that either residents or elected officials are using the Silver tools to create the request, and you didn't have to manually create anything. And then down below on this screen, it just gives you a quick snapshot to say, of the service request categories you've created, so pothole, streetlight, overgrown property, anything like that, how many of those are currently in process? And then on the right, there's a concept of assignment in the system. So you can either have a request automatically assigned to a department, or that department manager can reassign it manually to a person like me. And that way you can see the requests that are in process who the owner is. The next tab is going to show you the Issues tab, and this is the one where folks do kind of a lot of their day-to-day work in the system. So these are the filters that you have access to. So if someone calls in, you can use the search box to look up a street address, and then you can see we already know about the tree issue on this location, or is this a brand new request that came in? You could do a search by date range. So hopefully we don't get any of the storms you guys were talking about, but if you did, you could do a date range search and say, I want to see everything over the last 9 days, and it'll show you all the tree requests and everything else that came in after a storm.
Nice.
You can prioritize requests. So using that same tree example, if you get 10 tree requests, they're probably not all the same. Some are branches on the side of the road and some are a little bit more severe, so you can prioritize which ones you want to deal with first. And then you can also filter by service request type. So the idea is you have all these different categories to filter the data out so you can see the stuff that you're most interested in. The next thing I think is kind of neat here is that when the requests do come in, you can see all the information about it, so where it's located. This is how you can reassign it or change the priority of the request. And this is what's, I think, fun, is that if it does come in with a picture, you can open it up and you can see exactly what this request looks like. So you don't have to always go out and look at something to figure out what it's about.
Yeah,
And then you have this mapping tool to actually drill down to see exactly where something's located.
that's great.
And then the mapping tool is just to help doing data visualization. So this is also within the platform. So if you wanted to, you could say, I want to see all the tree requests that came in over the last month and just see a visual of those. Or you could look at it as a heat map. And so let's say it's after a storm and you think there's a lot of streetlight outages. You could do a heat map and it's just going to show you the concentrations of streetlight outages. And then you could work with the utility company to say like, hey, could you focus here, that kind of thing.
That's great.
Yeah, and then I'm just going to do the last, I'm going to skip over this part. And then over time, the neat thing is you have this, this is the city notices feature. So if you want to do an email out, not about a transactional issue, but you want to send an alert out saying there's a parade this weekend, these are the time of the parade and the streets that are going to be closed, and then you could send that out by email to all the users, letting them know. And so it can be complementary to how you use Code Red as well.
Is there a way to do it with text or no?
It doesn't do it by text. Right now it does it by email, and it does an alert on that map widget.
Okay.
We're going to add texting, but we kind of started with the lowest common denominator, which was most people had email.
Yep, okay.
And then the reporting. So over time, it's nice to be able to run some quick reports. So the first one is for you to be able to do a quick report by date range saying, I want to know what happened over this time period. And it's going to tell you how many requests were opened and closed during that time period, and what was the average time across all requests to go to open to close.
That's great.
And then it'll also tell you a breakdown by request category. So how many days it took to do a code violation versus illegal trash. And then you have this analytics tool, which allows you to do ad hoc reporting. So you could come in here and filter it by request type, by source of the request, by geography, by service level agreement, all sorts of different filters you can use to isolate the data. And then you can create all these different charts. And we did this because we found that folks that had us for a year or more would export the data to Excel and start making pivot tables.
Yeah.
And we were on site going, well, there's no need to do that. So we created this for them. They can still do that if they want to, but now they don't have to do that.
Yeah, that's great. Okay.
And then the last thing is this is the field, what we use when a client comes on board to set them up. So this is where you can create as many users for your staff as you want to, or recurring reports.
Okay.
You can create the service request categories that folks can use. And this is where you can control the buttons on the phone. So you could do town news, town events, all that kind of thing. So that was kind of the big speed version of what the program includes at the individual town level for each folks.
What's your app adoption rate, as a percentage, year one, year two for a population?
Yeah, well, it's kind of mixed. It's partially driven by how much people promote it. So the more they promote it on their website and
In general, yeah.
on their homepage, they encourage people how to download it, it's a lot higher. Some demographics are different, so some towns, population-wise, don't have quite as many people with it. So I don't have an exact answer for that, but a related, I think, question to that is usually people are concerned, are we going to get flooded with requests if we adopt these different channels? So we're going to get just nailed with stuff that we're not necessarily geared up to solve. And what we found is when you first launch it, there is an increase in the volume of service requests because you're telling people to go out and try this thing, and so they go out and they're trying it. There's also some people, probably like me, who maybe didn't call the town that much before, but I do like to use my phone, so I start engaging.
Yeah.
But after the first month or so, we see the total volume of requests comes down to about where you were before. It's just
It's a different channel.
how you get them is different.
Yep.
Well, so I do a similar thing for utilities.
Okay.
For energy presentment. And I just know it is very hard to get people, especially so for potholes, right? No one's gonna
Right.
say, hey, great, we can report potholes now, let's download this app, right?
Right.
Because it's not on, so just understanding, and it is the marketing, I'm with you there 100%.
Yeah.
But, I mean, can you get 10% of a population?
Yeah, I think that's a safe number, and I think the advantage that we have going into this is the app that people download is Commonwealth Connect, and the same one works in every town across Massachusetts.
Oh.
So the idea is when I'm in Malden and I launch the app, it's gonna have Malden's branding on it,
Yeah.
and you can route it to them.
Right.
But if you're coming here, so I use myself as an example. I used to live in Maynard for about 10 years and drive to Watertown, and I would wind through all these different towns to get there. I didn't really know what town I was in. But if I saw a tree, I'd like to tell somebody about it. And this platform's designed that you don't have to live in that area or exactly know where you are. The geo-bounding will do it for you.
Yeah.
So that's where the adoption kind of feeds off itself, especially as adjoining towns come on board and that kind of thing.
So it's a very nice app, and there's certainly value there for the reporting piece, but in terms of reverse 911, it's not gonna do it for us, because it's gonna be only 10% of the population that has
Right.
it. So that's not gonna be a communication substitute. It's potentially a work order management tool. So really it'd almost be more from the administration side, I think, than even from the end user side, you know, and the question is there actual problem there that we're fixing? Like, is this a big deal for us and it's a problem, or is it something that isn't a big deal? You know, that's what, I don't know the answer to that. But it certainly seems like it helps organize the work order side of things.
You know, are we that uncoordinated right now that we need something like this?
We don't have,
It's a
well,
loaded way to ask.
that's why I asked Peter to stay here. Peter, what type of work order system do you have now?
We have a project management system? No.
Right now, basically, we'll get a phone call, whether it's from communications or at our phone, and we'll go out and take care of the problem. If I have to call the person back to let them know, you know, this is what we're gonna do, or it's gonna take a little bit longer to fix this because we have to do this, this, and this. But I don't see a big backlog in issues. We usually go out and fix things right away, plus I let my guys know to, if they see something wrong, let's make a note of it so we can take care of it, so.
So I'm just looking at it from a small town volume perspective, what we actually see. I mean, how many, this is gonna be a educated guess, how many issues do citizens report to you a year? Like hundreds, dozens, a handful?
I would say that there's probably 100 a year.
Okay.
And, you know, if it's bad, if it's a stop sign, we go out and take care of it right away. If it's a pothole that, you know, damage is being done to vehicles, we go out and take care of it right away. And, you know, anything else, it's usually the next day at work, we'll take care of it. Unless it's a tree across the road, we'll take care of that right away. But I don't see a huge problem in not knowing about something that's going on.
What would be the approximate fee for a size, a town of our size?
Yeah, so under the program, it's $2,650 for the first year to do it. And then under the grant program, $2,500 is paid for by MAPC. So they kind of split the cost of what it would have been first year. So your total cost is $2,650 in year one.
Okay.
And then they also set renewal amounts. So if you decided after year one, yep, this program's working well for us, we'd like to continue, the cost would be $4,150 to continue in year two. So they kind of wanted towns to be able to scale up, try it. If it's a good fit, they know how much it's going to cost. If they decide not to, you're not committed, but that's just kind of how towns can ease on.
Does that include all available functionality, or is there like additional functionality you purchase on top of that?
This includes, everything I showed you is included in that,
Okay.
so everything in there. The only piece of functionality that's not included in there is something I didn't show, which is called a knowledge base, which is a frequently asked questions tool that didn't exist when the program first started. So that's why it's not included.
Quick question to Mike. On the website, do we have the ability for people to go to our actual website and communicate with us with these types of issues?
We have a,
Like info@Georgetown, whatever?
yes,
Okay,
it gets used once a month,
okay. Okay,
but we don't, promote it either. We don't
Right.
tell people that it's available. They don't know.
right.
It's mostly questions and,
Yeah, it's not, no one reports problems on it.
Right.
It's a Q&A,
But we have the ability to do that, though, to market, to, let people know, hey, if you have a problem with something, you can always go to our website and type this, send us an email.
Yeah, and the reason why I was interested in this is I see this as one piece in an overall strategic communications plan for the town to have with the citizens. It would, improve, which the goal would be to increase and improve the town's communication with the public. And this would be one of many different types of, we use things like the website and cable TV, telephone, newsprint, and email on a limited basis, but there's, if we move into the field of social media, you have email blasting, Facebook, Twitter, blogs, mobile devices, open data portals, a whole plethora of communication tools. And with that, you improve transparency of the government, local government, which gives people more confidence in us, which is, we kind of get blamed for the dopes in DC, when we're actually doing the real heavy lifting and the work. So we can improve our transparency and get better information out to people and create greater engagement with them too.
Yep.
So I just see this as potentially one of many channels of communication. I have the money in the budget for this year. We'd need a separate appropriation next year.
Is this something that, because the way it's structured in Massachusetts, no RFP is required for the town?
Right.
So this is just, it's like an approved vendor type?
Right,
approved
and
service type
they
of-
additionally, part of the negotiation was getting the pricing down below procurement thresholds so that it could be a discretionary purchase for the town if it fit with what they were trying to do.
Are there any of our abutting or neighboring towns using it?
I was trying to think exactly who nearby is using it. I should have had an answer for you on the way here.
Well, here's a list of everybody that's on it right now. I think it's on the second page.
When they first did the Commonwealth Connect program, their goal was to try to get
Third page.
groups of, they just didn't want to get everyone around Boston, because that would kind of defeat the purpose of trying to get different demographics around everywhere. So it's kind of a mix of different areas where folks have launched the system.
Question to that end, Mr. Chair. Because it looks like you just do individual towns. So I'm thinking like, we were just talking about Merrimack Valley planning. There's nothing where this does work on a little bit of a regional or any cost savings on that end of it?
Right.
If they're,
It's that concept. The whole goal of it was for it to be a shared service, and that's where but it's just sponsored by the state versus by the individual commission areas, and so they didn't limit it to one particular area. So the MAPC are the ones who went to get the grant extension for it, but it's not limited to just metropolitan area, those 100 towns within that. Other towns could take advantage of it if they wanted to.
again, if I'll use this, cause it came up, if I may continue, Mr.
Sure.
Chair. You know, we try for better communications, but as Code Red got mentioned, and I'm getting nothing but complaints right now because of the use of Code Red.
Me too.
And now, it may be that it's piggybacking on all the other phone calls that we're all getting at this time of year, and people are fed up with their phone ringing. But, and so, maybe, if we don't wanna address this now, maybe later under old business, cause it is in our minutes, you know, we're supposed to be getting some answers on that.
Yep.
So, I just wanna, while that was on my mind, it came up.
Yeah.
So as a starting point here, we could, so we have Andover, North Andover, sorry, what was that?
And Haverhill.
And Haverhill, understanding how long they've been using it, what their adoption rate is. Again, the big challenge on these types of programs,
Yeah.
having lived it, is adoption rate.
Yeah.
And it's like trying to get people to town meeting, right? We put a lot of signs out and stuff, but we struggle to get 100 people. So if we get 100 people on the app, have we really accomplished communication? Which is why I was saying I think it's more important as a back-end work order tool. If Pete and Mike and others said, hey, this is application. One question is that, do people use this to regularly communicate school information?
No, I haven't seen them use it that way. It's mostly public space.
Because that would bias a chunk of the population that would probably adopt readily if information was set out, but.
Doesn't mean they couldn't.
No, you can use it, because people use it for, I mean, the definition I was using was potholes, streetlight, graffiti.
Yeah, you could set it up for any user.
But we have a lot of people use it for,
Face you want.
if they have some money set aside for bike racks, and they want people to tell them where they want to place bike racks around the town, people can use it to
Yeah.
associate, economic development content if they wanted to. I would like reinforce though, because I know from experience, having rolled out about 60 of these so far, some towns have adopted it really fast. Other ones, they've had the grant for a year and they're just getting going. So different towns take a very different approach to how quickly they implement it. On our end, to get it set up, I was telling Mike earlier, it's probably about 8 hours of your time for us to get this all set up and going. You could either do that in a day, or you could break it over 30 days. But it's usually about 8 hours, what we've seen, of the town time to get it set up.
And some towns would have more electronic email data. Like, do we have any real email access to
Not yet.
database?
No,
Probably not.
we will as soon as we roll out, an extra 90 emails to all our volunteers.
But we're not
That's
soliciting.
their town email, right?
Right.
Yeah,
No, I'm talking about.
No, residential.
Residential.
Like
No,
a lot
we
of-
don't have a
lot of
database.
electric utilities, for example, have 40% of their customers on email because it's electric payment. We don't have that. So what I'm saying is that part of an easy way to jumpstart a program like this is if you had a database of existing emails, you send it out with a link and boom, you download it and it's fast. Right now, you have to actually get them to acknowledge it and then go to the app
Hunt it
store
down and get it,
and then
yeah.
do it. And
Right.
that's, so just as we go through this, again, having lived this, there's, and the other thing in budget-wise, it'd have to be a marketing campaign per se to really get adoption of this. So hopefully you don't see it as being naysayer, I'm just trying to go through
Yeah.
the different pieces of logistically putting this
And we
in
can
place.
share with you some examples of some of the towns nearby, and other ones that are maybe even closer, like size-wise to you as well. And you can get it, I can show you kind of the adoption data, but also some of the ways they had promoted it, because folks did things different ways when they did it. So, we're happy to, because, I mean, on our end, we want it to be,
We have a-
we want the town to want to do it, and we want it to be successful, because if it's not, then See-Click-Fix doesn't really win in the long run,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I think it's smart, it's just a matter of what problem is it solving for us,
Yeah.
and how
Right.
big is that problem? I think the app looks great, it's just a matter of, is it something we're trying to solve?
Right.
I think Utopia for us would be a mobile web app that is actually our website. With calendars, schedules, everything, because.
Actually, ours
It's
is
it's
now.
optimized.
Mobile.
It is.
It's
It
optimized
is
for
now.
mobile.
Is it true mobile though?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
optimized for
Yes.
mobile.
Okay.
When
Do we
did
have an
that
app
happen,
for
by
it?
the way?
Like 6
Just
months ago.
recently, yeah,
Do we have an
I
app
think-
though?
Yes.
No, it's not.
It's not an app, it's mobile.
You either have,
It's
Scalable.
optimized for mobile.
right.
I understand, okay. I understand, but
That
we
tends
don't
to
have
be-
an app, though, that,
It
you
tends
have
to
to go to Safari, you have to go to www.
Yeah.
You can-
Well,
You
I think
can,
True Mobile to me is having an app that it pops right up and,
Yeah,
You know.
no, this is
It
just
is,
mobile
but
optimized.
you can put it on your, like I have it right on my.
Yeah, I have it as
Save
just
it.
a
I just-
a
you can
bookmark.
save it like I mean,
Right.
Yeah, I have it as a bookmark.
And
There's
the-
a big battle going on right now, app or,
Safari.
self-sizing, you know.
And the nice thing about the way you guys have done that is the buttons on, if you were to add to this app, because you've already optimized it, they display really well within the app. So you don't have to do anything else to your website. You can just basically add links and have it display. Not all towns are like that, so.
I was trying to download the MEMA, I don't know, Massachusetts Emergency app last week, because guy was telling me about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. But I have like an iPhone, whatever, 2, 4, whatever the heck it is, and it needed to have the newest update, and I can't get the newest update because I can't get enough memory to do a new
Oh, to be able to
update
do-
unless I dump everything.
They have
Download
those
it
at the
on my
mall, you know.
phone.
If you ever find yourself in a mall.
Yeah.
They have new phones.
What new phones? I work for Simon Malls, so
Oh, you do?
that's why I'm busting my chops. Yes, but my company phone hasn't been upgraded to a 5 yet, so. So would you have to have the latest, or
No, it's,
will it play nice with lower versions?
it
of-
does. I think it's iPhone 4 and above.
Okay,
Is what it is.
okay, good.
Yeah, and it's there's an app for iPhone and for Android.
Yep.
And then we have a mobile web version, so if someone has a Windows or BlackBerry device, they can still use it if they're just using the mobile web instead.
Good, okay. Gary, you had a question or two?
Yeah, I'm still trying to get my head around the benefits to Georgetown. It doesn't sound like go with the cost again, it wasn't?
Yeah, it's the first year will be $2,650.
So that's, as far as the budget goes, obviously Mike doesn't see that as a large item on the budget, and he brought it forward. But so, the question I guess is more to Mike, how do you see this as a benefit for the town? Again, from your end, I mean, do you see it, you mentioned transparency, I mean, do you see it as more of a tracking device to see if our municipalities are getting things fixed? Or do you see it as a transparency for the public? I mean, you brought it forward, so a little more,
Well-
I guess, on,
We don't have any data to show people that things are getting done.
well, right now,
Peter
Peter
takes
makes,
phone,
Peter says he
takes
fixes
a-
it and he makes a phone
He
call.
takes a phone call.
Okay.
Right, but we don't, but the rest of only the person that made that phone call knows we did something.
So, okay,
Good.
so question now,
And
so
you know.
who, if, let's say, Jeff mentioned that you can call and someone on this end is going to be doing that, who here is going to be doing that? Is that gonna be Janet? Are you gonna be on the phone and on the computer at the same time putting all this stuff in? Is it gonna have to be someone at Peter's department, someone at the light department? And is that gonna add to their workload at their end? Is Peter's, let's see, Peter's here, you got nobody basically there to man the phone.
No. Well, he's got an administrative assistant for a couple hours every day.
Yeah, but I mean, but she's not gonna be able to, if she comes in and gets the message, I guess she could call him back and then start putting in all the data.
Basically, people will call the nearest 800 to them, the 800 number. So it could go in a lot of different places, I assume, and that's why. Well, this app is kind of we'd have to do cross training because it's just really designed that anybody could get the call. and
So you're
answer it.
saying
Yeah.
that the call isn't gonna come to people directly here at Georgetown?
It
It is.
would.
It's wherever you path
would.
it to. So if it's a pothole request or a tree request, it would go to the highway department.
It
So
doesn't
I
have to
guess
be a
we-
call, they also
No,
put
it's
on
an
their
email.
app
It's
that
when
can
they
just-
take the photo and send it. It's an
Email.
email alert.
Yes,
that goes,
but I'm
that goes to
thinking
the-
more people over, because he mentioned on the phone, and right now, I'm thinking, yes, you've got the people that are using these phones, but he mentioned one aspect of it, and if you're truly gonna use it as a tracking mechanism, who's gonna enter the phone calls into the system is what I'm getting at.
Oh, you're
If
talking
gonna-
about-
If you're gonna use it as that type of a tracking record, because it sounds like that's where Mike wants to go.
Well, right now, somebody's gotta write it down on a piece of paper.
Yeah,
So put it in the app instead of a piece of paper.
Well,
You don't
so I
need
guess
paper.
what I'm saying is, I'd like to see if we look to go forward with this, I'd like to see the highway department, their feelings on it, the electric department, the water department, the people that are gonna end up being using this, and how they feel it's gonna work, you know.
Oh,
I don't wanna go
absolutely.
forward with it and then have the departments come that, I'm not prepared to do that, I'm not doing
Well,
that.
I've already, for instance, I've already talked to the water department. Lou said, you know, we're not ready for anything like this right now.
Okay.
They're dealing with real basic stuff that they have to deal with. I haven't had a chance to talk to Dave about it at the light department.
Yeah. So I'd like to see that followed up, I guess, as a.
I mean, I was gonna
think we
discuss
owe
it
to
at,
them.
we have a staff meeting
Yeah.
tomorrow, and I was gonna discuss it at the staff level tomorrow.
But at a minimum, they could all say, let's say go into any department. Right now, they could, if they didn't wanna write it down, they could say you need to call this number. So they could still send it to, still tell people to call this number, and that person could still enter it.
Who's that person?
Well, typically, if they go in the highway department, the admin at the highway department would call back and enter it.
So I'm getting to, we don't have somebody there manning the phone, so.
Well, I don't think it's gonna change staffing the way you currently receive like if someone calls in now,
Someone has to write it down.
they're
No,
gonna have to write down,
I'm-
it'd be the same person.
believe me,
The dispatcher.
I'm not,
Dispatcher.
I'm not
Have access.
trying to sound like I'm negative on it, I'm just,
Yeah.
what I'm trying to make sure is that it's gonna work for the department, and as Mike said, the water department said, we're not ready for it.
And I,
So I wanna know, you know,
a lot of, I think that
are we as a town ready for it?
right, no, it's very valid. I think like, when we rolled this out initially, when the city of Boston sponsored this, the way they did it was, they sold it to the town saying, we suggest you start with 2 to 3 service request categories, and then expand it. And that way they could scale it up, and if it worked well for them, they would scale it up and other departments would take it over. And if it, turned out that didn't fit well, then, they could not continue it. But rarely is our town gonna start with every department on from the beginning, because it's really hard to do that.
And
So
if I
you can,
may
the idea is to scale it up.
Continue then on, is there a commitment of so many years, or?
No, it was that, the pricing is set, but it's just a year commitment, the first year, and then you can decide to renew or not renew.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of comments. First of all, it doesn't appear that this software this package is a project management package. So it seems like to me that we're trying to make it become a project management piece, a project management package. My question to Mike is, does Munis have an attachment for a project management piece that could be attached to the Munis system? So that, the call comes in, it gets into the Munis system, every department has the Munis system, I'm assuming?
No, it's only financial.
It's only financial, okay.
But I disagree, this is very project management oriented, because it comes in, it gets assigned to somebody, and then it's on a report, and you get a report on when it was resolved.
But I
But-
think
but-
what Dave was saying, that's not the intent of it, I think.
Right, that's not the intent of this. The intent of this is to report things. That was, the
Right,
way I
but then
see
on the
it.
back end, it becomes a project management
Yeah,
tool
I think
for
it's
the,
It's a
for the,
customer
for the department.
relations tool.
I understand, right, but it's not saying, is Peter gonna put in there, today we fixed this piece of it, yesterday we fixed that piece of it, we're gonna fix this
You
piece
check off, it's
tomorrow.
completed or not.
I understand that, but a true project management system puts dates in there, times, who's fixing it, when it's being done, again,
He fixes everything like in an hour.
right, so, rather than a piece of paper.
There is no status.
Yes.
So that's my point.
Yeah, right, no
My point.
status
It's not
on
really
the
a
highway
project
department.
management system, it's
Yeah.
more of a
It
notification
does,
system.
it does track who the owner is and who closed it for that stuff.
Right,
so
but it doesn't, all the other steps of when it's gonna be closed, how it's gonna be done, who's out of materials.
Well, I had all
what
the
department
notes in
needs
it,
right.
approval.
but it did, it had the
Right.
notes in it. The internal notes that wouldn't be posted done public is what you would be writing in
Yeah,
that.
so it's not an
Anticipated it'll be
asset
done next
management
week.
system.
Well, that was, what-
But,
right.
but it's a request management
Yes.
system.
So, and my second comment is I see that Andover is on here, and chairman of our
FinCom.
FinCom happens to be one of the people over that, would probably be
Probably
using this.
using it.
in
Yeah,
the
talk
Public
to
Works
Sandy, see
Department,
what
so
she thinks.
I think that would be worth our while to talk with Sandy and see what she thinks of it. And, some of the surrounding communities, like maybe Haverhill, or, Haverhill's a lot bigger than we are. Is Haverhill on there? Did I
Yep.
miss Haverhill?
No, it's
Yeah.
on there.
Okay. And maybe, a couple more, just to kind of see how they're using it.
Okay. Any further discussion? I'd like to move along. All right. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Nice
Good.
looking,
That's
nice looking
great.
system. So we'll digest this and see where we go with it.
All good questions. So I really
Great.
appreciate the time.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank you,
Jeff.
Jeff.
Appreciate you coming in.
Yeah,
Looks good. We'll get to Mr. Justardon in a moment. I entertain a motion to approve the minutes of October 6th as presented.
I will second, but I don't think.
Any discussion?
Let's, hold on, let's see. Where's that so close? Just one small thing on page 5 on the bottom paragraph. It's got, I don't know whether we need to fix it or not. I guess it states that I stated that the board made Mr. Farrell personnel director, but I could have said that, I don't know if that was, but I think it was at the town meeting, when they changed the thing, that's what sort of I mean, we appoint him as personnel director. But,
I think that's right. I remember this, because I was the one that said maybe we should wait for the full board to be here to vote that. And I remember you had said, well, we gave Mike the authority as the personnel director, and he's the one bringing it forward. Maybe we
well,
should vote.
no, I think it was actually the town that gave him, that, you know. I might
Well,
have
the town
been mis-
repealed, no, the town
When
repealed,
the town repealed the thing, and they gave him.
but we're the ones that appointed him,
more
right?
of a-
Finance director.
Hmm?
Is that what you said, finance director? This
No,
is
personnel
No,
director.
personnel director.
No, when
No, we
they-
appointed Mike personnel director based on an appointment, right? You didn't become automatically when the thing got repealed. Yeah, but in order to be personnel director in the first place, we would have to have appointed you. Town doesn't make appointments, town meeting doesn't make appointments. We
Well,
make
they-
the
They
appointment.
changed the
Bylaw-
policy.
The bylaw states that the town administrator is the HR director.
Okay.
Well, that was my intention. I guess it's probably not even worth,
All right, all in favor?
All right,
Aye.
Abstain.
Entertain a motion for October 20th as presented.
so move.
second,
Any discussion?
yeah. Hold on. Page 3. Just it's got Mr. Eckenberg stated that they have A and B at the, what was A and B? Just to bring back my memory.
Where are you looking at? Page 3 where?
Right above number 2.
Oh, okay, stated that they can have an A and B annual town meeting. Oh, this was the, I think this was, we were talking about what, the two options for posting the meetings? Is that what that was?
I think it was
Starters,
the,
another thought.
the two items up above, codify the budget projects in the bylaw and discontinue an
okay.
fund, that we could do those.
Oh,
I should
at
have
the
said
annual
item
town
number.
meeting.
Oh, A
Right,
and
yeah,
B.
item A and B.
Item-
yeah.
Okay, A
Item.
and B are the items that we're looking at
Yeah.
right above.
Right
Yeah,
above.
okay.
Okay,
Do that
thank
at
you.
the
Yep,
annual town
I understand that now. Thank you for
It took
helping
me a
me.
minute, probably should have said
Yeah.
item.
That's all
Mr.
right.
Chairman, I make a motion that we amend that particular sentence to put the words A and, insert above after A and B.
Yeah, item numbers above.
Yep, have A and B above at the annual town meeting
Okay.
on page 3.
Second, have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Now we'll vote on the minutes, right? 'Cause
Uh-huh,
there was the
need,
motion.
all those in favor on the minutes?
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, entertain a motion for the minutes of October 27th.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Sorry, I was daydreaming.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Mr. Desjardins, good evening.
Greetings.
How are you?
Okay.
Come on up.
Good.
We have a letter from Ed
Yeah.
in regards to the artificial turf project and a question that Mr. Tardif brought up at town meeting
Yeah.
about the crumble, what do we call it? The crumbled,
The rubber.
yeah, the crushed rubber, crumbled
Yeah,
rubber
crumbled rubber.
that sits in the turf. turf fields, the new turf, synthetic turf field, and it wasn't addressed at town meeting because it obviously wasn't a warrant article or anything like that, so it wasn't a place to address it. But we got your letter. There was an article in the Newburyport Daily News about that topic, and that they're actually looking into, they're analyzing to see if there's any problems with their crushed rubber at their ball fields and stuff like that. But, so, let us know what you're thinking.
Well, basically, I'm here mainly just to, I don't want to upset any apple carts already in motion. I was a little displeased on the way that the special town meeting kind of ended. Reggie Tardiff, former member of the Finance Committee, I think had some comments that he wanted to address. And these are comments that are shared by a number of residents in town as well as myself. And it may have ended at that point when they kind of passed over and brushed it aside, and Reggie left, and the town meeting ended. A few days later, I picked up the Newburyport Daily News, and there on the front page is the same items that he was sort of concerned about. And I highlighted those in yellow, and I don't know if that shows up on yours, probably not on the yellow. But the same turf kind of questions. And there's a nice NBC News report that had stirred up some controversy. The series of reports, NBC News documented a situation where a high school soccer coach in the Seattle area requested the federal government conduct a safety studies on the crumb turf after becoming aware of several former players who may have developed cancer from having played on this substance. I'm sure that there must have been a lot of study or some degree of study that went into this. I mean, we're looking at three basic options: crumb rubber, which is one type of turf, going to some sort of plastic in another, and then there's even talk of cork being one of the options. What I'm trying to avoid, and they're concerned about this in Newbury as well, and the folks in town are standing up and questioning the same things that Reggie had mentioned. We don't want to wait 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the road and find out that we have a situation where 3, 4, 5 students suddenly have developed cancer because either they haven't looked into it far enough, or some thought process, I'm sure, probably. And the guy selling the product is going to say it's the greatest thing since cotton candy, and you got to get it, and it's completely healthy. So I'm saying let's look at pursuing all options. There's also allergies and molds that are factual and have started growing on turf, people that have the turf. And all I'm asking is that you folks look into the health and safety issues that are involved, and before it gets to a point where it's already there and giving the public a problem. They are in other communities, as I said, very concerned, and they're doing some studies and stuff. Newburyport is spending $2.2 million on theirs, and I think we're, 1.25 or something like that for our turf project. So it's substantial. It's a big chunk of money to be spending, and then we're all going to feel it ultimately in the end on our, whether it's a tax bill or using less community preservation funding and that sort of thing, because the money's been sort of set aside for that. So I spoke to school superintendent today, Carol Jacobs, and mentioned, I gave her a copy of it as well, so
Okay.
Mike thought it might be good to let her look it over and keep her posted as well, which I did.
Yeah, I think you'd want to address this with the school committee
Yeah,
and
yeah.
GAA.
Yeah, and the other is,
I know the question was brought up a couple of years ago when we were talking
Yeah.
about this turf.
yeah,
Specifically that question.
If it weren't
And I
in the
recall
paper
being one of
3
the people
days
that brought it
later, I
up.
would not, I probably would have just forgotten about it,
Yeah.
but suddenly.
No, it was
the
interesting how it
Next
was-
town over, you know, 3
Yeah.
days later is raising the same issues that we were.
Yep.
Or that Reggie was trying to raise.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I had a conversation with Reggie
Yep,
at the meeting, before the meeting began, and I suggested that, you know, he mentioned it.
Sure.
And I think that the town moderator did the right thing, because it really wasn't part of the discussion, the safety
wasn't.
features of that, and I think she handled that appropriately. I did-
however, if the other two items had to do with artificial turf, wouldn't it have been only reasonable to take 30 seconds or a minute and explain why the other two were just sort of
The other
brushed
two were
over?
passed over because of the intricacies of the financing and
That's
the-
fine, but
Right,
a simple sentence or something
Right.
would have said that.
Right.
And if they opened it up at that point, I could see her getting concerned because it wasn't one of the items on the agenda.
Right. So I hear what you're saying, and I tend to agree that to say, you know, why are we passing over something? If we're passing over it, I don't know if she's allowed to say we're passing over it because
Yeah.
this was settled and we don't need the warrant article, rather than just say we're passing over it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the protocol is, and that's something we may want to ask her when we get a chance, but, so I did talk with GAA at town meeting,
Yep.
and I asked them to talk with Reggie and, you know, address his concerns. I mean, I have fielded some calls on this myself. So I'm a little bit concerned too, that, you know, we may be exposing people to our, especially our kids and employees, to some type of hazardous material. But on the other hand, it's, you know, I don't know if it's already been ordered, we've already got a contract, we've already committed.
Gonna be installed in the next couple of days.
Yeah, well, that's the point. So
Yeah.
how do you stop it
That's
now?
a good question.
That's the point. That's the frustration in all of this. And there's no real evidence, hard evidence yet.
Yeah.
You know, this is all conjecture on each side.
Yeah.
You know, we went at painstakingly lengths to make sure we got rid of all the arsenic.
Yeah.
And now
And then
we're
load this in,
And now
right?
we're loading this in. So, you know, and as far as, you know, allergies and molds, you know, molds grows in grass too, and allergies grow in grass too.
Sure.
So that doesn't bother me as much. It's the issue of the cancer piece. Now, again, could be underlying other things, the reasons why there was cancer, you know, with those other studies. There's just not enough data
Right.
to know.
This material is also what's used in the playgrounds,
Okay.
regular playgrounds.
You know. So I hear you. I have my concerns, but
Yeah.
I don't
No,
know if there's enough,
Certainly appreciate you.
enough
Bring it up
evidence
and-
to
Waving
say,
a
right,
flag
I
saying,
agree.
guys, take a
You know
look
what?
at
Yeah,
it.
you're not the only one, really.
Right thing to do.
Take it over.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I don't know if the stuff's already being dumped in, what do we do now?
Well,
And
I
there's
mean,
no
he's-
real hard evidence for
There
us to
isn't. There
say,
isn't. You're right.
stop
Well,
it
we asked the
now and
question
sue
up
us
front
if
2
you
years
don't, you
ago, and
know.
everybody said, no, stuff's
Right.
fine, there's never been any
Right.
issues.
See,
Yes,
this
yes.
NBC News article that came out not that long ago apparently had indicated that there was possible, they say possible again.
Yeah, they said there was a possible tie, but there was
Yeah,
no
there
evidence.
is, and
direct
there is no
evidence.
hard evidence, you're
Yes,
correct.
yeah.
So, I mean, for us to stop the process now.
No, I don't
No,
think
no.
you're gonna stop the process.
Again, but knowing and keeping an eye on going forward, I mean, we're already committed. I mean, I think it'd be a major
Yeah.
lawsuit if we said stop it because of this, you know, it would put us more money.
The
so-
funds, I'm sure, have already been
Right,
set
right,
aside
so
for
that
it.
would put us more behind between lawsuits and
Well.
treble damages and everything else if we were to back out now. But I think it's something that we need to keep an eye on and watch all the studies and see, there has to be some type of warranty in the contract that allows us, if this is a cancer-causing agent and it's discovered X amount of years down the road, there's gotta be in something in the
Yeah,
contract,
yeah.
in the contract for remediation and mitigation, I would hope.
Maybe you see what happens in Newburyport, where they're gonna be now facing this, and they're just walking through this and deciding the ultimate, artificial turf that they wanna use. And it may come out that the rubberized stuff is more of a problem than going to plastic or cork or whatever else is used.
I mean, I know that where my wife works, they've had it for a number of years and there hasn't been any issues, as long as it's properly maintained.
Yeah, that's.
And, you know, whereas you're not exposed to the rubber
There's
as much.
vacuuming and that sort of thing,
Right.
I think
There's
that picks
maintenance
up
to
the
it. There's
remnants,
some
yeah.
pretty good maintenance to
Yeah,
this,
exactly.
this field. It's not just put it in and forget about it.
Yeah.
There's some maintenance to it. There is, Mike, I'm telling you,
Squeegee it
right? But there's
once
also,
a year.
okay, but you mark my words, that's what, I know by experience. I listen to my wife all the time
Well,
about it, so.
I think
That's how they sold it to us, as
Yeah.
Yeah.
no maintenance.
Yeah, well,
And you know, this
there's more
is
maintenance
the
than you
newer,
think.
I mean, where your wife works could be the older, that was one of the things, when this question got up a couple of years ago, we were told, oh, no, that's the old stuff, this is
Yeah.
the new stuff.
Could be, yeah, it could be.
And I guess one of the points, this stuff only has a lifetime of, what was it, 10 years?
15.
Was it
10 to
15?
10 to
10 to 15, and so I guess usually this is long-term exposure, and from the sounds of how this is going, by the time they've decided that this is no good, then it'll probably be time to replace it.
A new
And
product.
then 2 years down the
probably, yeah.
road, we'll probably find out that the new product does the same thing as, because this was supposed to be the new product. It was the old product that was causing the
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah, yeah.
And so,
Could
but
be
you
the
know, to
double old
speak to to speak to your financing issues, I think most of, and Mike probably can speak better for it, but I think most of what the town was gonna spend the money on, it done work.
Yeah.
And as he says, the stuff is going on in a couple of days, and that's the part that the GAA, so really, we've
hard
spent
to
most
stop
of
it
our
at this
money
point.
already.
Yeah.
But that work, I think, certainly would be in prep of any covering that goes over it, I would think.
Yes.
Yeah, so that, I think there was drainage and all kinds of stuff that went in there, and so,
Site
like
work.
David was saying, if somewhere down the road, we had a lawsuit and had to replace it, at least, you know, the work that we've done isn't
Yeah.
for nil.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure it could get replaced for a lot shorter money than what it's taken to get it thus far.
I would just hope that 5 years, 7 years, sometime down the line, you know, that we're not sitting in the same sort of meeting and say, geez, didn't we say, you know, back in 2014, there could be a possible problem here, or take a second look at it, so,
Well,
whatever.
like we stated, that the question did get addressed, and we were
Yeah.
told, oh, this is the new stuff. And now evidently the new stuff is maybe not any better than the old stuff.
Other than that, gentlemen, that's it.
All right.
Well, it's always,
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing it up.
yes.
Keep our fingers crossed.
Yes, we all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
There will be other products, I'm sure, over the years.
Oh, I'm
that'll-
sure.
That'll maybe override
Can I
this,
ask
and there'll be
had a
something.
historical question?
Sure.
When are we doing it's sort of sad news, but are we doing a new Kane presentation? Any plans there?
Do what, President?
Post-Kane.
Post-Kane?
I haven't heard, no one has approached me. The Historical Commission, I think, has handled that in the past, so if the past person has passed away, then
Yeah.
the new person, I think probably, let me see, Council on Aging probably would have a directory of those elderly folks, and.
Do we know who it is?
might be in
Gary,
line.
any idea who it is?
I have an idea, but I wouldn't want to say, because I think his point was very good. Next time I'm in, I'll check with the council on aging.
Yeah,
yeah.
check with Colleen, I think.
Yeah, that's Colleen, what's going on.
Probably would
I know some pretty old people, but they may be somewhat older, you know?
Right. Okay.
Thanks,
see you,
Ed.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
See you later. I have a letter here from, for Veterans Day observation, November 11th at 11 o'clock at the Harry Murch Park. American Legion Commander Doug Dawes sent a note to us inviting the Board of Selectmen and all residents of Georgetown.
Thank you for just a second.
Yep.
The end of the letter, I had noted copies would be sent to the Georgetown Record and Newburyport Daily News. I decided not to do that, so as not to stir up the flames of a potential thing, so unless we hear otherwise, I won't be sending any of those out.
Okay.
Thanks, Ed.
Thanks, Ed. So Veterans Day is Tuesday, November 11th, 11 o'clock at Harry Murch Park. And the posts will be assembling at the Georgetown Park and Ride and then march into Harry Murch Park. And then following the ceremony, coffee and donuts will be served at the Georgetown VFW Post 7608 rather, on Andover Street. And just want to let everybody know, so hopefully we'll see you over there. Also, want to extend our condolences to the Coy family about the loss of Cam and their beloved son. And there is that is horrifying news, and we're so sorry about your loss. His calling hours will be this Thursday from 3 to 8 at the Conti Funeral Home. So, I will see you over there, and I'm sure we'll see lots of other people as well. And our hearts and thoughts go out to your family. Under other correspondence, a request to proclaim November Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month. So I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I'm gonna abstain.
Oh, and one abstain.
Who has the original proclamation? So,
I have a letter, but I don't, oh, here's the proclamation.
yeah, Jen, you don't have to read, I don't want to read it, but it's up to
We have to sign it though, do you guys have it, right? Okay, so, all right, so that passes, and we will, make November Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month, so, good news on that.
Number 2.
Mike, anything on Selectmen's report? Anything, any other updates or anything on the DOR or anything? I know we've been knocking off a bunch of those topics on the DOR reports, so,
Yeah, I could,
we made a lot of room there. or
Actually,
progress there.
the Finance Committee would like to extend an invitation to the board to attend their December meeting, at which time they want to take up the codification of the budgeting process.
Okay.
It's usually the third Wednesday of the month. I don't have a calendar in front of me, but I just wanted to give you a heads up on that.
Okay.
Will you email us?
Oh, absolutely,
Thanks.
yes.
first Wednesday, is it?
Third,
The third Wednesday.
probably be around the 17th, 19th.
Okay, FinCom. Joint meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Let us know when you get that
No, so it'll
specific.
be posted as a meeting. then?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
17th.
All right, great. 10/17.
12/17.
I'm sorry, 12/17, thank you. All right, under appointments and approvals, request for one-day liquor license at Camp Dennison. Oh, sorry, we did that one. Request for Georgetown Liquors to sell alcohol Sundays at 10 a.m. That's item number 4 in your packet. We just have to approve that.
I have
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, that's one of those you get to approve.
you shall approve it.
I shall
according-
approve. We
uh,
shall
So
approve.
do we don't have a choice on this? Is that what you're saying? I mean,
That's-
by right, they're allowed to do it?
Yes.
Yeah, the law
By law.
changed.
Right. I know that they were,
They have to ask,
They
though.
have to ask, right?
so
but
we have
which
no,
is
no
pointless.
basis to deny it, right?
Right.
Motion to approve the request for Georgetown Liquors to sell alcohol on Sundays beginning at 10 a.m.
Is there a second? I'll
Yeah,
second.
I'll second. I mean, we did the other way. I don't think we can
Okay.
do another.
All in favor?
Discussion?
Discussion?
Why do we, what's the difference? Why do we have a 4 and a 5, I guess, is we've got a 4 on them and then a 5?
This is their renewal.
The other one
5 is their renewal.
They're renewing,
Okay, so
for next year.
they're asking for
they
the
sent them
renewal.
out.
Yeah, this is their renewal.
So they actually wanna go through with this year, and then next year, these hours will automatically be there?
Correct.
Yes. And they wanna start that because we want Crosby's, so as soon as Crosby's are open, they said, now.
Yeah,
I don't know
that's
if they really
why
wanted to
I.
be
renewal
open at
season.
10. They kinda said they really
Yeah,
didn't want
that's
where
what,
Crosby's.
part of why I felt I needed to second it. If we gave it to one, I.
Have we already given it to Crosby's?
Yes.
Yeah, you can't deny it. I don't know why they have to
Yeah,
ask
we-
permission when you can't deny it. It's just
Yeah.
kind of redundant.
Well, you're the licensing.
I mean, I have.
Oh, I know, but it's,
I mean, I have nothing against Georgetown Liquors. I think they do a great job, and they do a great job in town, but I just essentially are against anything before noon. But I'll vote for it because we can't
there's nothing you
not
can do about
But
it. right?
I don't agree with it at all.
Legislature has tied
Don't
their
agree with
hands.
it. Just
Right.
don't agree with it. Don't agree with it at the golf course. I don't agree with it at, any establishments in town. And, but I'll vote yes because we have to.
No, that's
But I don't agree with it.
beyond us at this point. Any questions, President?
Answered.
All right, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Georgetown Liquors, Inc., 2015 all alcohol package store renewal. Entertain a motion to
So
renew that.
moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
aye.
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 Mobile food vendor Committee, what do we have to do, appoint these members?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint Peter Durkee, Police Chief Cudmore, Fire Chief Beardsley, Building Inspector John Medevere, Board of Health Agent Deb Rogers, for the duration of their employment to the Mobile Food Vendor Committee.
Do I have a second?
Second,
All right, any discussion?
Yeah, Mike, you want it?
that was my question.
What did we miss you?
I'm not on it, but I
You attend the
been
meetings?
chairing the meetings.
Can we
I'm
appoint
a
you?
non-voting member.
Can we appoint you, or should we not appoint you and let you be the moderator?
Wanted to, yeah, they have the important says on whether something gets approved or not. I can be on it as a non-voting chairman.
And he's not on the, section of the applications either, are you? Which you gave us a copy of.
You're right, I'm not.
Yeah.
You're not in the
so
SOP
we really-
either, so we should
Yeah.
just leave it alone. If
Yeah.
it becomes a problem, let us know, we'll fix it.
He's our communications guy.
Right. There an
Any
app for
further
that?
discussion?
Is there
Yeah,
an
there
app
an
for
app for that? Any discussion? Further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mobile food vendor app, we wanna know where all the ice cream trucks and food vendor trucks are.
Oh, you kidding me?
There you go.
Also, just a note, in your electric bill this month, you will find basically an advertisement, a bill stuffer for open committees. We have some open committees, ADA coordinator, cable access TV committee. These are all committees that are volunteer committees that need citizens to participate in. So we also have Conservation Committee, Council on Aging, Finance and Advisory Board, Hazardous Materials Coordinator, Planning Board, alternate member, Zoning Board of Appeals. So if you have interest, please get in touch with Mike Farrell or Janet Quintano at the Selectmen's office and the Town Administrator's office. And we would appreciate any and all folks that would love to serve. And if you have questions, certainly talk to them, any of the Selectmen's members or the chairman or other committee members on any of these particular boards. But we highly encourage you to come out and help serve, because it is a volunteer group of citizens that make this town run for the majority of the boards in town. So we hope to see you step forward. Are there any other topics?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Oop, there you go.
Well, I was just gonna ask that, if the board would consider letting the town clerk come to one of our next meetings. She seems to have some problems with the way we went forward with the vote at the October 20th meeting, I think it was.
For what, the alternate posting?
Yeah, she felt that she wasn't communicated with well on it, and, you know, it still has some problems, and I think if we're gonna have a fair vote, that we need to hear all sides.
Well, I disagree. She was here and presented her case for a half an hour on one of our meetings. I heard her fully. I disagreed with her point of view fully, but I heard her out. She was here. I disagreed. I'm not putting her back on. I mean, we can vote on it, but it's what's done is done, and we need to move on, in my opinion.
Well, that's your opinion.
I know, and
Yeah,
if
no,
she's
that's-
welcome to come back and get on the agenda, but she stated her case already, and
Well, we
the
had.
whole board, I
we
don't know
had
if it was
that
a whole board,
concerns-
but the board heard it, we discussed it, we talked about it with her here, back and forth with Mike and
Yes.
Janet, and the topic's closed, in my opinion.
Well, when we're going
We
forward.
made a decision to post online.
One of the things, you know, I felt, and, you know, I said to her, well, she said she hadn't seen the policy, and I said, well, I believe the policy is basically state law, that's what the policy is. And, but in reading our minutes, it states that when we asked, Mike said the policy is from the Attorney General and himself. And so I guess, Mike, did you go over the policy with the town clerk before you brought it to us for approval?
I had a discussion with her on the,
But I mean, had she seen had she seen what?
not see the piece of paper.
Well, I don't think that, I don't think that that's very fair, that we're voting on something that she hasn't seen, so on that end of it.
Well, the top part came from the Attorney General's checklist that she passes out to all volunteers. It's in our volunteer manual.
I've brought it up, Stu doesn't wanna bring it up, we'll just see where it goes, I mean.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
I just think it's a waste of everybody's time. The decision's been made. We're posting online. We all heard her out. We were all sitting on the board.
if you remember correctly, when we had the vote that night, you may wanna look at the minutes, I had my concerns about what her reaction was gonna be. And personally, I don't think we should shut out anybody to come to this board and.
No, like I said, she's welcome to,
Right.
to,
Maybe you should do
See
a one-on.
Janet and-
My
and do
suggestion
it.
would be that you, Mike, and her sit down and try to iron that out. If it can't be ironed out, then she's.
there's
should
nothing to
come.
iron out. I mean, we made the decision. It's.
Right, but I'm talking
it is
about the
what it is.
logistics, how it's gonna be done.
Yeah, because the
you know,
question is from an so there's a policy point of view and an implementation
Right,
point of
I'm
view.
worried about the
And I
implementation.
wasn't here for the conversation.
Well, we've been working with the clerk's office. Janet has gone down there, showed them how to physically do it,
Okay,
and, you know, it's,
so there's no issue with
From
that?
what I
With the
understand,
date stamp on it. and
it's a
ribbon.
bit, it's a question of time, and she and her assistant don't feel they're gonna have the time to do it.
Okay.
And
Takes less time than photocopying it and running it
I
downstairs.
think it's
So do we
gonna,
give him an unfunded mandate?
No, my,
No.
what I got today was, it's more of the stamping and stamping it online, and that we asked that people try to get it 72 hours prior to make sure that things go smoothly. I think that was, I don't know, maybe it was 48 hours, I can't remember.
We recommended 72. It's 48 is what's required. But we recommended
yeah,
72.
we can't change the state law. It's 48 hours, but.
But we're
the
recommending
policy,
to the
The
board
part that
members.
I wrote said, you gotta understand the hours of the clerk's office and submit accordingly.
Right.
Yeah.
If they're closed at 2 o'clock on a Thursday, you gotta get it in, you can't send it in at 4 o'clock.
I think that was part of her concern, and that's part of my concern. that-
Well,
that
we
things
just,
go smooth.
we addressed it, and we said if a
Clearly
board member, if a
explained.
chairman of a board puts it in at 4 o'clock on a Tuesday when they're walking out the door at 4 o'clock, then they're not gonna have a meeting. It's that simple. They didn't get posted, they're not gonna have their meeting. When they do that once, they'll figure it
Well,
out.
well,
They'll learn.
You can, I'm sorry, Stu, it sounds like you've, it sounds like I'm upsetting you, and I don't mean to, but we also wanna make sure that meetings don't get missed, okay?
I
And-
get it,
And so
but-
we wanna make sure that the transaction of this is smooth, and if there's questions on her end right now of transactions, I think for this to go smooth, because the last thing we want, we get enough kickback now about how long things take in town in front of certain boards and committees.
Right.
And I certainly don't want to be responsible for slowing it down
Mm-hmm.
again because of the transaction of this, and a meeting had to get canceled because it didn't get in there in time. So
Mm-hmm. Well-
I see that as a problem also going forward. That's part of, that's what I'm seeing as a problem. What she was talking about today was the stamping of it and this and that, and do things get in there?
That needs to
So
get
we
worked
need
out
to-
with Mike and Janet and
Well, and
her.
that's, so perhaps
and-
what Dave suggested, I mean, you
Yeah,
know.
I mean, we don't need, I don't need her here telling me it's gonna take too much time to do it. I'm not gonna waste this board's time on that. If there's information and process and things that they need to get done, to get it done, they need to get it done. And where I'm annoyed is that this posting of agendas online is a key constituent communication tool that is a lot more robust than putting it down here on a corkboard that nobody ever reads, except for a few people. So a lot more people will be able to see and understand what's going on in town and when the boards are, and it just annoys me that we're getting pushback from
Well,
the
that-
clerk's office about it, when it's clearly a better communication tool for our constituency, which is the taxpayers of this town.
And that's a good reason why I did get behind it on the thing, because from the board members that I've seen here, most of them felt that yes, it would go smoother from on their end.
And
But
most
I
of them
just
that I've
wanna-
heard from wanted
yes.
email
But I
submissions.
just wanna be sure that the whole thing
Yes.
goes smoothly.
Yes, and that's a process flow issue that has to happen
A
with the
suggestion,
town
Mr. Chair,
administrator.
when you go from manual to electronic, there's always some hiccups, there's always some concerns.
Sure.
on
I
anything
get
that
it.
happens. So maybe, the meeting after Thanksgiving or whenever, you guys could just
Give us an
let
update.
let us know how it's going.
Well, we haven't
We haven't implemented it yet.
implemented it yet.
So so
Because
far,
we
no
haven't
no
gotten-
problems then so far.
Yeah,
Right.
Gotta go to the AG, right?
But I mean,
no,
once
no, we just
We just
notify
alert
the
the
AG.
AG.
Okay.
It's, the board members haven't been distributed their
Their emails.
emails yet.
Okay, so we're waiting on an email.
So once
Yes.
we get there, if you guys work out just a report time period afterwards, let us know if there's any problems, how it's going, because like I said, this is a modern challenge of everything
Well-
anyone tries to do.
What might be helpful though is having just a whole process, communication process outlined that you can share with us to be able to talk about, you know, how we're gonna alert all the board members, how we're gonna alert people, how we're gonna clearly communicate it beyond just, you know, email. We'll put it on the website, you know, we'll put it on TV, whatever. And then, yes, if there's any process issues, that's what you guys get paid to do, work it out. I don't need to waste this board's time on process issues or a particular department head's gripe about wasting her time or their time. So that's why I'm saying, no, I'm not wasting this board's time to have the town clerk come and tell us what she already told us. If there's process issues, fine, you guys work out, that's what you get paid to do, that's you guys working in the weeds. Make sense?
Does.
And
Yeah.
I'd be happy to communicate this to her, but, you know, if you feel I need to do that, I'd be happy to do that.
We can work it out.
Okay.
We were waiting for after election too, I think.
Yeah,
She-
well,
she
that,
wanted to
obviously,
wait till
yeah.
after
Yeah.
election.
Yeah.
She was
Oh, yeah,
straight
there's no
up.
question about that. I mean, we wouldn't implement that
Yeah.
anyway, because, yeah,
She
obviously,
even
she's
said
got her
that.
hands full with election. I
We'll
fully
work on
understand,
it.
and she does a good job with that, so.
Yeah.
All right, anything else?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I think that we should offer our condolences to the Menino family, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, from a political perspective, a political party. One thing that's undeniable is that Tom Menino gave his heart and soul to the city of Boston and was a model for volunteerism and getting involved as a public servant for his entire life. So I think that we should offer our condolences to the Menino family, and it's a great loss for the city of Boston and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Well said.
Yep, thank you. Anything else, gentlemen?
Motion to adjourn?
Do I have a second? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you, good night.
So I didn't want to bring it up because